We are out on 240 at Village Parkway with a likely fatal collision. State started taking it, but then realized that one of the involved drivers is an off-duty state trooper.
Almost 6 months after she was involved in a deadly crash that killed a young motorcyclist, Washington State Trooper Sarah Clasen is facing a charge of vehicular homicide. The push for charges has been growing in recent weeks, with the police and prosecutors' social media pages getting flooded with comments asking why she hadn't been charged. We're talking about these updates, we're talking about the lawsuit, we're taking another look at Clasen's behavior at the scene, plus there is new video as police investigated what she was allegedly doing before the crash, and we are going to break it all down with Washington attorney Andrea Burkhart. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, so before we get started, I got to address this elephant in the room. Yep, this looks horrible. It's a sty. It is bad. It hurts. It is disgusting. We're probably going to cover me with a lot of B-roll throughout the course of this episode, but I just wanted to give you this warning. This is why I look like this. It's going to take a little time. Got to work it out. I think it's bad makeup or something like that. But yeah, that's what's happening. Let's go into the story. In March of this year, Sarah Clasen, the public information officer for the Washington State Patrol, a 13-year veteran of this department, was involved in a crash after reportedly picking up a pizza near her home in Richland. And she claims that a motorcycle that was ridden by 20-year-old Jose Vega Sanchez, quote, came out of nowhere and collided with her car, a Kia Telluride. Now, something to note here, she was not on duty at the time of the crash. She was not in a state patrol vehicle. But in the end, it doesn't change what happened, because tragically, Jose died at a hospital from his injuries. And since then, a potential court case against Clasen has been listed as pre-file, while prosecutors from another county, they were working to decide if they would eventually charge her. Now, investigators, they were reportedly waiting on the results of a toxicology report, right, to see if Clasen was intoxicated when there was this collision. There had been suspicion at the scene that Clasen had been drinking, and she seemed to deny on scene that she was intoxicated. But there was a blood draw that was done to confirm what happened.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I would love to rule out impairment, but without the fields, it is hard to rule that out. Obviously, it's voluntary. I won't ask you again, but there may always be that question.
Yeah.
Down the road.
I just rather not.
Okay.
Yeah. I understand, but I know how it goes too. So.
Yeah. What do you mean? You know how it goes? Even if there's like a little, if I had a glass of wine earlier or something like that, I just don't want to do it. Okay. Yeah. But no, I definitely don't feel impaired. I don't feel like there was impairment as an issue. Did you have a glass of wine earlier?
Not gonna answer it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so they did get a warrant for the blood, so we're going to do that now.
Okay.
Then we go to April. The Tri-City Herald reported that it had obtained hundreds of pages of police investigation paperwork, which included the report from the Washington State Patrol Seattle Toxicology Laboratory. The Tri-City Herald reported that Clasen's blood alcohol level was 0.17. That percentage was nearly 6 hours after the crash. The Herald also reported that Clasen allegedly tried to leave the scene, even getting into her heavily damaged SUV and trying to drive off. But apparently she couldn't because Jose's motorcycle was stuck underneath it. According to the Herald, one witness described her more like a nervous teenager than a seasoned police officer. In that article from April, Spokane County Prosecutor Larry Haskell was quoted as saying that his office was doing more testing, although what exactly that testing was unclear at the time, but he promised that once that was done, there was going to be a thorough review of the file. By the way, talking video like this, let me tell you, we here at Sidebar, we produce so many video clips a day, and we use a platform called Opus Clip that may be very interesting to you because it's an all-in-one AI editor that makes it easier and faster to cut, create, and upload videos across all social media platforms. Through the power of AI, Opus Clip automatically generates B-roll, it cleans up audio, and it reframes your videos for any platform. Opus Clip is so easy to start using. I'm going to show you how right now. All you got to do is go to opus.pro/sidebar opus.pro/sidebar, sign up, and then you upload a video. In just a few minutes, you'll have tons of perfectly edited clips ready to go. So whether you're making videos for TikTok, Shorts, Instagram Reels, Opus Clip is your one-stop shop for getting your best content seen by more viewers across all these platforms with literally the press of just one button. And if you're wondering how good these AI edited videos are from Opus Clip, just look at our content here at Law and Crime. Our producers have used Opus to help us cut and share clips of some of our most major trials, and having a tool like Opus Clip means we can get you even more viral updates from inside the courtroom faster than ever before. At Sidebar, we know our listeners have a lot of opinions and ideas to share, and this is the most powerful tool there is to help you edit like a pro and grow your own audience. So give it a try for yourself. Go to opus.pro/sidebar to start creating your own videos today. Well, that brings us to what just happened. September 4th, Clasen was officially charged with 1 count of vehicular homicide. And something else that happened between the time of the crash and the charge being filed, Hosier's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Clasen and her husband. And an amended complaint that was filed in April names a local bar and its owners. Because according to police, Clasen is believed to have been drinking at the Moon Palace restaurant. This is apparently owned by Bong Jim, Bradley, and Brian Wu. According to this amended complaint, Clasen had met her husband at the Moon Palace restaurant on March 1st at around 3:30 p.m. And according to the amended complaint, it reads, quote, between approximately 3:28 p.m. and 7:26 p.m. on March 1st, 2025, defendant Moon Palace served alcohol to an apparently intoxicated defendant, Sarah Clasen. Then, the allegation is that she switches cars with her husband, drives off, and at 7:38 p.m., fails to yield the right-of-way, turns left in front of Hosier, and collides with him. The complaint states, defendant Moon Palace's actions were a proximate cause of Hosier Sanchez's injuries, pain, suffering, and death. By the way, the Washington State Patrol apparently told the Yakima Herald-Republic last week that Clasen, at last check, is still on paid administrative leave. Now, that may have changed, but not entirely sure, but that seems to be the most recent reporting of this. Now, we're going to play you some body cam moments that I think are quite important to this story, quite important to this case. But first, to talk about these latest developments, to go through all of this, I want to bring back on to Sidebar Washington trial attorney Andrea Burkhart, who has her own YouTube page. Encourage everybody to go check it out. So good to see you again, because we had you back on here, I think, in March, when Hosier's family had filed that lawsuit. Now we have this amended complaint, and now we have a charge against Clasen. So let's get right into this. Is 6 months or so, is that a typical amount of time to file charges in a case, in a possible, DUI case?
So in a case of this nature, it's not unheard of in the state of Washington. And the reason why is because we have a little peculiarity in our law that requires blood alcohol analysis to be performed only by the state toxicology lab. They can't contract out with a private laboratory in the event of backlogs or for rush orders or things like that. So the state crime lab has been extremely backlogged for quite a significant length of time. And that means that in cases where blood alcohol analysis is critical to the charging decision, those charging decisions can unfortunately end up being delayed fairly substantially.
Do you think that this is the right charge given the alleged facts in this case? And do you think it's an easier case to prosecute?
It does seem like an appropriate charge to me. It's the charge that I would have expected to be filed in a case of this nature, given the role of alcohol that, based on what we know now about the investigation, clearly seems to have played a role in what unfolded. In a case like this, I think it's normal to be concerned about the appearance of perhaps different set of rules applied to a law enforcement defendant rather than the rules that would be applied to just an ordinary member of the public. But from what I've seen from the charging decision, that does not raise any particular red flags for me.
But do you think, what do you think is going to stand out to you in terms of, from an evidentiary point of view? What do you think prosecutors need to do to secure a conviction here?
Well, I think her behavior at the scene certainly isn't particularly helpful. There were some reports by witnesses who were present at the time that indicated they thought she was trying to leave the scene. Her presentation doesn't necessarily come across as somebody who is perhaps in the best condition to be behind the wheel of a vehicle. But ultimately, at the end of the day, science tends to carry these types of cases. And so the blood alcohol result, which has come back as a 0.17, that's more than twice the legal limit in the state of Washington, is likely going to, I think, carry the most significant weight with the jury.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think that's problematic. Maybe the surveillance footage as well from this crash. By the way, so because of her position, right, the county prosecutor had to recuse himself from this case. It sent it over to Spokane County instead. Do you think that's also what affected the timeline of the charging as well?
I don't think so. I would have expected that would be anticipated pretty early on once the information about this case began to enter the prosecutor's office. They would have known right away if this is a trooper that routinely refers cases to them that they engage with as a witness and investigator and so forth. So I would expect they would have been prepared for that type of step to be taken. It's not too uncommon in this part of the world where we're relatively small communities. Conflicts are not unheard of. And so movements like this do happen with some frequency.
Now, again, I'm going to play this body cam in a moment to get some different perspective, kind of what we're talking about. But just going to this complaint, going to this civil case. First of all, how does this criminal charge affect the lawsuit? Let's start there.
Well, the criminal charge has the potential to significantly affect the criminal lawsuit because of the legal principle of what's called res judicata. And it's just the idea that you don't get to relitigate issues over and over and over again once there has been a decision by a court with appropriate jurisdiction and the parties have had a full and fair opportunity to present their case, then that ruling is going to stick. And so in the context of a criminal conviction, should she be convicted of this crime, that is likely then going to be taken as an established fact for purposes of the civil lawsuit. And they would not need to litigate her responsibility or likely her impairment for purposes of establishing the elements that they need for civil recovery.
And this civil case, what do you make of them adding the woos now to this amended complaint?
I'm honestly not terribly surprised that would happen. Anytime you have a situation like this where a death results as the result of consumption of alcohol, we have in Washington what are known as dram shop laws. And those laws basically establish certain responsibility on the part of people who are serving alcohol to others to be responsible about how much alcohol you're providing, to notice when somebody is excessively impaired and may not be safe to leave. And so liability can be imposed on those types of individuals and establishments. They're also a common target in civil cases like this because they're likely to carry insurance. And so for purposes of recovery and having some kind of predictability of there being resources available to satisfy a civil judgment, it's pretty normal to look to the establishment that provided the alcohol as a potential contributor as well.
So what I want to do now is I want to look back. I want to look back at this accident scene and also a Richland officer's interactions with Clasen, because it gives an indication of why he was suspicious that she might be intoxicated. That's what we're talking about. Take a look at this.
Hey.
No.
How's it going? Good. Do you want to talk over here real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Steve. I'm with the traffic unit. So just I know this is probably uncomfortable, but we're just gonna treat this like as if it was anything else, and we want to figure out what was going on. Just just in order to rule anything out.
Yeah.
And like obviously it's just as important to rule everything out as it is to confirm everything. So. I'm just getting here, so I know you already answered some questions from the other guys, but generally what happened? And
So I went and picked up a Domino's pizza.
Okay.
I was turning left in here. I live right over
Okay.
there on Wild Canyon Way.
Okay.
I saw what I thought was a car with one headlight out.
Okay.
Right just past where the reflective sign is, that white one.
Okay. Sure.
And so I was already slowing in the turn lane and saw him there, and I was like, oh, I got enough time.
Okay.
I turned, and as soon as I turned, just felt the boom.
Okay. Okay. So as you're turning, you thought he was further away.
No,
Is
he
that
was
right?
definitely past that reflective sign
Okay.
when I saw him.
Okay.
And then I think I just, like you say, I thought it was a car with a headlight out. And
Okay.
realized it was a motorcycle, and didn't
Okay.
realize the rate of speed.
Okay.
they were going at.
So did you think he was going pretty quick?
Yes.
Okay.
Because from that reflective sign, it's kind of, I live here, so
Sure.
that's always my general rule. If they're past that sign, then you got
Okay.
plenty of time if you're already
Okay.
slowing to turn in.
Gotcha.
And
So you know, based on making this turn and numerous times,
Yeah.
that you know how to judge that distance.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, good to go. Okay. All right. So you're probably aware we're just gonna run this like normal. So I'm just gonna run you through some voluntary field sobriety tests if you're willing to. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I want to do any.
Okay. All right. What about the PBT? You willing to do a voluntary PBT?
I don't want to do any tests
Okay.
based on the
Okay. Okay. Understood.
circumstances. Yeah.
What about? Obviously, you just gave me a verbal statement. Are you willing to write down a statement on paper?
Yeah. you can
Okay.
do a statement.
All right. Let me go grab a statement
Okay.
form, and I'll let you fill that out. And then I know you want to get out of here, so
Okay.
we'll do that. That way, we just kind of lock everything in
Okay.
for today. So,
Sounds good.
all right. Yeah. Just give me a few minutes.
Yeah,
here.
no worries.
Yep.
Andrea Burkhart, that's very interesting interaction there. What stands out to you? What was your reaction to how the officer and Clasen are interacting with each other? What stood out?
Well, certainly the refusal to do the field sobriety tests, that is not going to be helpful in a trial situation. That is evidence that can be used as a consciousness of guilt, so to speak. So I think it's kind of natural for a jury watching the situation to think, hey, if you knew you didn't do anything wrong, you would have been happy to cooperate with that and simply rule out, as the officer said, the potential for impairment. The other thing I think that stands out to me is that she did give a fairly specific statement about her perception of what transpired. And it seems that according to the probable cause affidavit, they've been able to determine from some of the evidence at the scene, the roadway evidence that's often used in traffic collision reconstruction types of analysis, that her account is not accurate. They were able to estimate the speed of the motorcycle as approximately 54 miles an hour. This is a 55 mile an hour zone, so well within the speed limit for this area. I think ultimately the combination of those two issues are likely to pose a problem for the defense facing a potential jury here.
Yeah, and by the way, this officer has Clasen fill out a statement on what happened, which, according to police reports we reviewed, was only 6 sentences long, contained a couple of misspellings, and the police report notes that Clasen spent nearly 18 minutes in a patrol car writing it out. And the investigator was surprised by how short it was. According to police documents, quote, Sarah told me that as she turned onto Village Parkway, she felt the impact of her hitting the motorcycle as soon as she turned. Sarah told me that the motorcyclist was definitely going faster than the posted speed limit. Sarah did not elaborate on how she came to this conclusion. And we should note that later reports would determine that Hozier, who had only ridden the motorcycle a few times before this, according to his family, was going, again, as we just talked about, 2 miles under the 55 mile per hour speed limit when Clasen turned in front of him. Now, continuing from the report, it says, quote, Sarah mentioned multiple times that she believed it was a vehicle with one headlight out instead of a motorcycle. I found this statement to be odd, considering that whether it was a motorcycle or a four-wheel vehicle, nothing would change regarding her responsibility to yield to the right of way or in determining if there was enough time to safely turn in front of it. Andrew, what do you make of that? Trying to come up with reasons why the crash was unavoidable. Again, something that you talked about before, but it's just interesting as we're elaborating on it.
Well, I think this is going to come across as deflection, as attempting to pin the responsibility for the incident on the motorcycle rider rather than herself. He's going too fast. He was operating a vehicle that wasn't in compliance with the rules of the road. To me, this appears to be responsibility shifting that I think is unlikely to sit well with folks who are tasked with judging the case.
So after conferring with his fellow officers, this officer puts Clasen into handcuffs. And she seems to kind of be rethinking whether she wants to participate in a breath test or field sobriety test, to avoid being detained. But obviously it's too late. Take a look.
Do you want to grab the furrow?
No. I think she has something on board.
Do you really?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Is there?
we have to.
Is there going to be enough to get a search warrant?
So yeah, I'll write it. I mean, unless you want.
What changed?
So I was just studying her. She got a couple misspelled words on here.
Okay.
She wrote sigh, and she said 100 feet. Sorry, I'm going a little fast. She estimated the distance between the guy on the motorcycle and her to be 100 feet, which that's way more than 100. That's 500 feet. She said she was almost through her turn when clearly she was at the very beginning of her turn. Her eyes are a little bit glassy, a little bit.
Those
but,
lights.
But could be, but we got to err on the side of caution.
Okay.
I do not have a great sense of smell, but I think I smelled a little bit of odor of alcohol, enough for me to say. And then I told her, I'm like, hey, we just want to rule out impairment. And by you not doing it, I'm like, I'm not going to ask you again, but I'm like, we can't rule it out. And she's like, yeah, well, if I would have had a glass of wine earlier, I know how this goes. And I said, did you have a glass of wine earlier? And she said, I'm not going to answer that. So
Okay.
I think with everything, we have to. I mean,
Okay.
I will write the search warrant. But yeah, I'm still recording. I'm still recording. I would have loved to have ruled it out. All right. So like I said, we were really trying to rule alcohol out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not convinced that alcohol wasn't a factor. So right now you are under arrest. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and put your hand behind your back. So we will be doing a search warrant for blood. Okay. That way there will be no questions. Well, so we're trying to treat this like any other incident, and
Yeah, I
typically once the opportunity kind of comes and you say you don't want to do it, it's voluntary, and then if you want to do it,
Well, I did a
After.
voluntary breath test at the VAC, but I just didn't want to do the fields.
okay. So you wanted to submit to, I think with this, the significance of this, I think it's probably, we're going to probably get a search warrant. Okay.
That's fine.
All right. I appreciate your
Yeah,
cooperation.
no worries. Of course.
Okay, Miss Burkhart, that was interesting. What did you make of it?
Well, she plainly contradicted her earlier refusal to take the portable breath test, the PBT. She, in fact, explicitly said she wasn't willing to do that. So now she's trying to suggest that she is willing and perhaps was willing to do that all along. It's not going to be a good look.
No, and she was booked on a 72-hour hold. She saw a judge, by the way, released her on her own recognizance. You had a prosecutor who asked for $150,000 bail, but the judge noted that Clasen had these significant ties to the community, that she was cooperative on scene, so there wasn't a concern about Clasen fleeing. But as the investigation into what happened in the hours leading up to the crash continued, police then learned about the Moon Palace. And according to documents that were reviewed by the Tri-City Herald, Clasen and her husband were apparently regulars at this bar, which it seems used to be a Chinese restaurant. And according to the reports that the newspaper reviewed, the business only deals in cash, and customers have to apparently come in through a side entrance while the front door remains locked. I mean, again, that's based on these allegations here. But you can see the officer using that side entrance on body cam a few days after the crash. Take a look.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
Just have a couple questions for you. I'm investigating a crash that happened a few days ago, and I just wanted to know if you had any video or any documentation about the people who may have been here?
No, I don't have any videos here.
Okay. What about the receipts or anything?
They pay cash as it goes on.
Everybody pays cash?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, sorry about that.
Okay, yeah, no problem. All right, you take it easy.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you. Yep.
Now, the investigating officer apparently wrote in his report, quote, "Up to this point, I was unaware that the Moon Palace was currently a functional business, even though I was aware the building was at this location. The years that I've worked for the city of Richland, I had presumed that it was an abandoned building that used to function as a Chinese restaurant." So it's unclear how much the Clasens had to drink while they were inside because, you listen to this, police believe the bar's workers may have allegedly deleted details about their tab. Andrea, that doesn't look good for Clasen or the bar, right?
No, it looks very bad. This is all, again, consciousness of guilt type of activity. And they're going to have to, of course, question this assertion that the business operates entirely in cash. There's clearly going to be mechanisms for police to be able to investigate the veracity of that statement. So it's not, of course, illegal to do that, but it would certainly be highly uncommon in this day and age and in a food and beverage kind of business to, not take credit cards. So it's just, again, more dishonesty and kind of covering the tracks that is ultimately not going to look very good at all.
Now, Clasen's arraignment is scheduled for later this month. However, her defense attorney, Scott Johnson, and I want your opinion about this, told local outlets, quote, "In today's world, people demand instant answers and then rush to judgment. However, drawing conclusions without all the facts is not only irresponsible, but also unjust to our client. She deserves, and the law demands, that she receives fair and impartial proceedings, not a system biased against her." That seems to be kind of a general statement, right? It doesn't really go into specifics. I guess the question would be, what do you expect Clasen's defense to be, whether from a criminal charge or from a lawsuit? And obviously that might be a little different, might be similar.
Well, I expect there's likely to be a substantial amount of crossover because ultimately, if you can beat the criminal conviction, it doesn't mean that you're not ultimately going to be civilly liable. Of course, O.J. Simpson case is the most notorious example of that. But it does mean that it would be a lot more work potentially to get that civil judgment against her. So, I would ultimately, given what I know about this case, expect the defense to largely be a legal one. They have to try to get this blood alcohol result thrown out. That's kind of how I see it. I expect they might try to use her statement in the patrol car that she was willing to cooperate with providing a sample. Perhaps then that would invalidate either the search warrant that resulted, if that information wasn't included, that she was willing to voluntarily provide it, or something along those lines. Because if they're able to get that blood alcohol content ruled to be inadmissible at trial, then I think they're in a much stronger position when it comes to the distinction between the fact that it's not illegal to have a drink and drive a car, but it is illegal to drive while you are impaired by alcohol. And so the numeric blood analysis provides a nice, clean, cut and dried way to be able to establish impairment. When you don't have that, then it can become a lot more subjective. And jurors are going to be able to watch this body cam footage, the situation with their own eyes, reach their own conclusions. And it may not be as cut and dry as it is when you have that 0.17 that they hear.
It's almost like, and it's different, but it's almost like if you are able to admit that blood alcohol content into a trial, it's like what we call strict liability. It's not, but it's almost like we don't even have to prove who's at fault. If that's where their blood alcohol content is, jury, you can see what happened here. It's not, I'm playing with the notion a little bit, but that would be so devastating to her case. Real quick, what would be a way to rule it inadmissible?
Well, I just think they're going to be looking at all aspects of it. They'll be looking at the process. The warrant itself is always going to be reviewed very closely for any type of issues. They'll be looking at the process of the draw itself. They'll be looking at the process of the analysis in the lab, making sure that that is 100% by the book, I's dotted, T's crossed, and any little slip up in any of those areas could potentially be grounds for a defense motion.
Now, we can't forget in all of this, we put the law to the side, we can't forget the victim in this case, right? 20-year-old Jose Sanchez. He was born in Venezuela, recently graduated from high school here in the U.S. He lived in the Tri-Cities area for around 7 years, according to his family, and was working as this forklift operator at Lamb West in a food processing plant. His family spoke with Apple Valley News in an emotional interview. His mother said, "When you see Jose, you feel amazing, like the sun is shining on you." That was Jose, the sunshine of our family. Now we've lost him. It's hard for me to even talk about my son. Sanchez's father told Apple Valley News that they just want a fair resolution, saying, "When I heard it couldn't be an accident, that the driver was also an off-duty WSP trooper, I thought, oh no, now the truth is even more difficult to uncover. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but we want the truth. We want justice." Now, the family even started a GoFundMe to raise money for funeral expenses, and his mother wrote on the GoFundMe, "He was a bright and loving soul who brought joy to everyone around him, and his absence has left a void that we cannot begin to describe." So before we leave, let's just really quickly talk, Andrea, about the importance of a civil lawsuit for a family here, to get answers, to get accountability. Obviously, the defendants in this case will have an opportunity to present their defense. But why is this an important avenue for families who lose a loved one, particularly in these kinds of cases?
Well, it's important because, in my opinion, it gives them a certain measure of control over the questions that are asked and the answers that are sought. The civil process allows for discovery by the plaintiffs. The discovery rules in Washington are quite permissive and quite broad. So with a police investigation, certainly they're going to be concerned about the victims and interested in supporting and helping the victims. But ultimately, their responsibility is to the community, and they conduct their investigation with that type of goal in mind. For the family, that may not be satisfactory, particularly as you pointed out, with this angle of the Moon Palace and the potential responsibility that they may have as well. That's not the type of issue that law enforcement is going to be investigated criminally. This is a civil issue and not a criminal one. So that type of issue is only going to be able to be explored through a civil lawsuit like this.
Andrea Burkhart, thank you so much for coming back on to talk about this case as we have tried to break down these new developments. Really, really appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure, Jesse.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can follow me on Instagram or X. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll see you next time.